Today we're making this firecracker cake roll with a homemade marshmallow buttercream frosting inside and out. I'm going to show you all of the steps from filling to rolling all the way to the end where we get to enjoy a slice of delicious cake. Be sure to check out the video's description box for the ingredients list and a full list of directions. To get started, we need to prep our pan. We're going to use an 18 by 13 inch jelly roll pan. We're going to spray this with nonstick cooking spray, mostly using it as a glue, if you will, for our parchment paper. We're going to line this like so with some flaps on the edges for easy removal. And like before, we're also going to lightly spray the top with nonstick cooking spray. We want absolutely nothing to stick today. Okay, set that off to the side. Let's make our cake. To a bowl, we need half a cup of vegetable oil, half a cup of milk, 3 large eggs, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 1 1/4 cup of sugar. We're gonna mix this until everything comes together. Okay, this looks good. Next goes in all of the dry ingredients. That's 1 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're gonna mix this until combined. You can also just use a whisk for this recipe if you prefer not to bust out your electric mixer. Be sure to scrape the sides as needed. Once everything looks good to go, we're gonna take out about 1 1/2 cups of batter and transfer it to another bowl. To dye the cake batter, I find it's best to use gel food coloring as it's way more concentrated than regular food coloring. These two are from Hobby Lobby, Super Red and Royal Blue. If you can't get your hands on these, Amazon sells a brand called AmeriColor, which I also highly recommend. You're only going to need a few drops of the red food coloring, and before you know it, your bowl and everything in it should look like a crime scene. Definitely a super red. Now the blue might need a few more drops than the red. While checking out this recipe online, some commenters stated that their blue turned green. I didn't have a problem with that, which kind of makes me wonder if they used regular food coloring instead of gel. I can see that happening with regular food coloring as it's a much weaker product. Just keep that in mind if you do decide to use the regular stuff. You might have to add a lot more to get that true blue color. Once you have your two colors, we're going to pour them each into a gallon Ziploc baggie or piping bag, whichever you prefer. Now I'll be honest here, this is an incredibly wet batter. To get the stripes we're looking for, we're going to need to alternate between colors. To do this, we're going to need a place to rest whatever color is not in use at the time. If we just set it down on the counter, chances are high it'll run straight out of the bag and onto the counter. To prevent this from happening, grab another bowl and angle your bag like so, tip sticking up so nothing flows out while not in use. To get started, snip off the tip about that much, no wider than your fingernail, and pipe a line of batter from one corner to the other like so. Then place your bag in the bowl and grab the next color and repeat the same process on both sides of the blue. You don't have to get your color right up to the previous one, gravity will do that for you. Once you have all of your lines placed, you should have a lot more batter left for each color. Go back over your lines like so until you run out of cake batter. Anywhere that could use some more batter, go ahead and add some more on. It's okay if it looks a little funny. Even if you don't get perfect lines, it's okay. Once it's baked, rolled up and sliced, it'll still look fantastic. Okay, we're ready to bake. Into a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 15 minutes or until the top springs back when pressed. While that's baking, it's important to get everything else ready for the next step. We're going to need a wire cooling rack and a kitchen towel. Don't use a terry cloth towel, it will not work for this. We're also going to need a little bit of powdered sugar for dusting. Once your cake is done, we're going to let it cool for 3 minutes. We don't want to roll it while it's blazing hot, but we do want to roll it while it's still pretty warm. It's been 3 minutes, the pan is cool, and the cake is still pretty warm. Next, we're going to dust it with powdered sugar. I don't know why, this is just what the instructions tell me to do, so we're going to do it. If I were to guess what it's for, I would say it's to keep the top of the cake from sticking to the kitchen towel. Okay, this looks good enough. Cover the top with a clean kitchen towel, and then add on the wire rack like so, and flip everything over. Go ahead and pop off the pan and carefully peel off that parchment paper. Pull out the wire rack, we don't need that right now. Now the recipe didn't say anything about dusting this side, so I guess we just aren't gonna do it. To roll up your cake, start on the short side, flip your towel over like so, and gently start rolling your cake to the opposite side. This is why you want to roll your cake while it's still hot. In this stage, it's very forgiving and flexible. Not so much when it's cooled and has had a chance to set. And while you're rolling up your cake, try not to roll it tightly. The tighter you roll it, the more likely you are to crack your cake later when you unroll roll it. Okay, now that our cake is nicely rolled up, we're gonna let this cool completely on the counter for at least an hour and a half. Okay, it's been an hour and a half. It's time to make the marshmallow buttercream frosting. For this, we need 1.5 cups of softened butter. I'm using salted butter for this recipe. If you're not using salted butter, you will need to add in a pinch of salt. We're gonna beat this up until it's creamy. Next goes in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 3 cups of marshmallow cream. For this, you're going to need at least 1 large container plus maybe half of a regular container. As you can see here, I didn't quite get 3 full cups from the large container, so I did have to break into the small container. This much was left over. Okay, we're going to mix this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and once it's fully mixed in, we're going to scrape the sides, then we're going to add in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of milk. We're going to mix this until everything is nice and creamy. Then we're going to transfer half of our frosting to either a piping bag or a gallon Ziploc bag. Now that our cake has completely cooled, we can carefully unroll our cake and apply our frosting. Snip off the tip of your frosting bag and pipe a generous amount into the inner fold of your cake roll. Then apply the rest to the remaining length of the cake. Grab a spatula and even out the frosting. Once the cake looks evenly coated in frosting, it's time to roll up the cake. We're gonna roll up our cake the exact same way we did with the kitchen towel and the exact same side. And yes, there's always a chance you'll get a crack in your cake if you previously rolled it up too tight. And where this crack in the roll is, it's not a big deal. I'd say the worst ones are the ones on the top, if you get one. My crack was on the edge, so I'll show you what that looks like. Do you see it? There's the crack. With the remaining other half of the frosting, go ahead and cover the cake and be very generous with your frosting. You'll want a nice thick layer all over your cake. Add on your festive sprinkles. I picked this set up from Walmart. It's their 4th of July seasonal pack. Here's an ingredients list. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all in the next video.